ghost before the title. Please come, Holy Spirit. Ever wonder why? Chapter 12. God, Science, Belief, and the Elitists. In Chapter 11, we discussed how since the dawn of time, the global elitists have been trying to become as almighty as God, something they will never achieve, but don't try to tell them that. They will keep on striving for perfection and immortality until the end of time. They have come a long way, though, in their quest for immortality, using computers, microchips, robotics, and nanotechnology to increase and enhance their lifespan. We also discussed how talking to God and asking questions of God provides answers from God. I said, don't misunderstand me and don't think I have some remarkable open line to God. Sure, I can strike up a conversation with God anytime I like, but that doesn't mean God talks back to me whenever I like. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes it takes years to get an answer. The point I'm trying to make is, if you talk directly to God and ask questions of God, God will talk back to you and God will answer your questions. Keep your faith and be patient. Listen very carefully with your heart and God will answer you. All you have to do is listen. Be still and know that I am God. Psalms 46:10. Speak, Lord, for thy servant hears. 1 Kings or 1 Samuel 3:10. I will hear what the Lord God will speak in me. Psalms 84:9. The following is an excerpt from the book, My Imitation of Christ, by Thomas à Kempis. Book 3, Chapter 1. The Interior Discourse of Christ to a Faithful Soul. Blessed is the soul who hears the Lord speaking within her, who receives the word of consolation from his lips. Blessed are the ears that catch the accents of divine whispering, and pay no heed to the murmurings of this world. Blessed indeed are the ears that listen, not to the voice which sounds without, but to the truth which teaches within. Like I said, all you have to do is listen. You also have to be very careful, though. You have to discern what you might think to be answers to your questions, because you cannot believe every answer you get. The devil tries to trick you into believing a lie by giving you convincing sounding answers, which when tested for the truth, turn out to be false. Therefore you must test every answer you receive for its truth before you believe it. When something is so obviously true and cannot be argued with or refuted, you will know it. Like the answer to my question of why I saw that pool of shit in St. Peter's Church at the Vatican. The answer, something stinks in religion, and there is shit in high places, cannot be argued with or refuted. So obviously, it's true. I do not have the answers to all of life's questions. No one does, but this too I asked of God. I asked him why not. The answer I received was, all is not yours to know. All belongs to God. This, too, I could not argue with. Science is ever ready to deny God and God's creations. It is always attempting to make feeble explanations of how things came to be and how things are. Everything from evolution and aliens to the Big Bang Theory. And in all seduction of iniquity to them that perish, because they do not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Therefore God shall send them the operation of error, to believe lying. 2 Thessalonians 2:10. Science can discover and explain away the physical properties and workings of many things. Science is constantly striving to tackle this monumental task and seeks the answers to all of life's unanswered questions. Talk about vain and futile, mission impossible if you ask me. Indeed, science does discover, interpret, and accurately explain many physical things in a scientific manner, but science will never explain all things. There are several reasons for this. I'll give you just the first two. The first reason is, all is not ours to know. The second reason is, science hasn't even begun to discover all that there is to discover. In fact, science hasn't even begun to discover a nanofraction of all that there is to discover. And neither mankind nor mankind science will ever discover all that there is to discover. Mankind is very vain indeed if they think or believe they will live long enough to discover all there is to discover, and scientifically interpret and explain away all the things that there are in creation. Mankind and science haven't even begun to scratch the surface of our own planet, our own galaxy, our own cosmos, or our own universe. Never mind the billions of planets, cosmoses, galaxies, and universes that are billions and billions of light years away. So if neither mankind or science can explain everything in our own backyard, how then can mankind science explain everything in God's backyard? things that haven't even been discovered yet, nor will they ever be until God says so. Whenever mankind does discover something through science, there is always something more to be discovered in the discovery. The depth of every discovery is never ending. And I understood that man cannot find the reason of all the works of God that are done under the sun, and the more he shall labor to seek, so much the less shall he find. Yea, though the wise man shall say that he knows it, he shall not be able to find it. Ecclesiastes 8:17. There is and always will be more to discover. Until God returns, many things will remain hidden a mystery. Then, at that time, science and mankind will discover that all things do come from and belong to God. Do not believe everything science has to say. Science is not by any means absolute or foolproof. Science, to me, is like religion. It is full of falsehoods and deceptions. Much of what science tries to pass off as absolute fact is pure fiction and pure speculation. Many of the things that science dictates are true, in reality, are mere theory and entirely unproven. Certain scientists would have us believe many of their speculations and theories are fact, despite the fact they have absolutely no proof of them whatsoever. Take Darwin's theory of evolution as an example. Neither Darwin, nor anyone else for that matter, has ever witnessed, documented, and scientifically proven mankind evolved from the apes, or the fish, or a drop of water, or an amoeba, or any other form of life under the sun. Yet Darwin and many other so-called scientists try to fob this crap off on us all the time, trying to recruit us, brainwash us, and influence us into believing their unproven conjecture. Just like religious fanatics, they push many of their theories as fact. In fact, you could say science is like a religion of its own. But all men are vain in whom there is no knowledge of God, and who, by the good things that are seen, could not understand him who is God. Neither by attending to the works have they acknowledged who the workman was, but they have imagined that either the fire, or the wind, or the swift air, or the circle of stars, or the great water, or the sun and the moon, to be the gods that rule the world. With whose beauty, if they being delighted, took them to be gods, let them know how much the Lord of them is more beautiful than they. For the first author of beauty made all those things. Or if they admired their power and their effects, let them understand by them that he who made them is mightier than they. For by the greatness of the beauty, and of the creature, the Creator of them may be seen, so as to be known thereby. But yet as to these, they are less to be blamed, for perhaps they err, seeking God, and they are desirous to find him. For being conversant among his works, they search, and they are persuaded that the things are good, which are seen. But then again, they are not to be pardoned. For if they were able to know so much as to make a judgment of the world, how did they not more easily find out the Lord thereof? But unhappy are they, and their hope is among the dead, who have called gods the works of the hands of men, gold and silver, the inventions of fine art, and the resemblances of beasts, or an unprofitable stone, the work of an ancient hand. Wisdom 13:1-10. And then they make prayer to it, inquiring of it, concerning his substance and his children, or his marriage. And he is not ashamed to speak to that which has no life, and for health he makes supplication to the weak, and for life he prays to that which is dead, and for help he calls upon that which is unprofitable, and for a good journey he petitions him that cannot walk, and for getting, and for working, and for the event of all things he asks him that is unable to do anything. Wisdom 13:17-19. I do not blame man's use of science for trying to satisfy man's curiosity and need to know how things work. In fact, I am sure lots of sciences and studies of how the physics of things work have not only benefited many people, but at the same time I also believe they have murdered many people as well. Until science acknowledges that God is the creator of all things, and that only God knows all things and can reveal all things if he so chooses to do, science's search for all the answers will always be in vain. Perhaps when we are reunited with God, all will be ours to know. But until then, who knows? Neither you nor I. Only God knows. Why? Because all is not ours to know. Like I said, I do not have all the answers to life's questions, but I do have some of the answers to life's more crucial questions that were more crucial to me. The answers to the questions that I believe are vital for me to know. I don't know how to make rocket fuel, and I don't know how to turn lead into gold. These things do not interest me. However, they do represent things that I do not know. Therefore, whenever I think about how much I do know, I must also think about how much I don't know. It is only then that I realize how little I actually know. But what I know, and what I believe, I believe. For example, these are a few of the things I believe, and I know for sure. I know something stinks in religion. Stinks bad, real bad, and I believe it. And I know there is shit in high places, a lot of shit, and I believe it. I know I was born a human being for a reason, and I believe it. I know I didn't ask to be born, just as surely as I know neither did you, and I believe it. I know there is a lot more to this life than meets the eye, and I believe it. I know I was born to die, and so were you, and I believe it. I know there are a million ways to die, but only 2 ways that anyone can leave this life and this earth, and I believe it. Do you know what those 2 ways are? I know that there is a God in heaven, and I believe it. I know that Lucifer is just as real as God is, and I believe it. I know there is good and evil, right and wrong, right here upon this earth, and I believe it. I know I have a free will to choose between good and evil, just as surely as I know that you do too, and I believe it. I know that I have a soul, and I know that you do too, and I believe it. I know you can choose to believe or not believe whether or not you have a soul, and I believe it. I know that decision is entirely up to you, and I believe it. I know you can choose to believe or not believe whatever it is you want to choose to believe or not believe. That's your business, and I believe that too. I chose the analogy of, I do not know how to turn lead into gold, to emphasize the fact that I, and no one else that I am aware of, knows how to do it. Tell me something. If humans think they can rival God with their inventions in science, why haven't humans discovered how to perform this simple task yet? I mean, after all, alchemists have been trying to achieve this simple goal since the discovery of gold and the greed thereof began. I don't see any of these so-called, I'll give you all the answers, scientific wannabe God global elitist geniuses discovering how to turn lead into gold anytime soon. In reality, my true opinion is that it'll never happen in man's lifetime. Why do I believe that? Because all is not ours to know, and I believe it. I've had a pretty interesting life for the most part. It all started at a very early age for me. Perhaps that's why my childhood memories are so vivid. My father, God rest his soul, was employed by the British government. Supposedly he was some sort of financial accountant. I didn't know this at the time. I'm still not sure if I believe it even at this time. All I did know at the time was that we constantly traveled all over the world. Before I reached the age of 9, we traveled everywhere from Africa to Zurich. We trotted all over Europe and most of the free world. Lots of things stand out in my memories from those days. He died alone in Africa while we were with our mother in England. My mother received a telegram on Easter Sunday reporting his death. One thing among the many things I learned from my father before he died that was more important to know than just being able to travel anywhere was learning the fact that I should not travel everywhere. I remember we were in West Berlin, Germany at the time, standing at the east-west border known as Checkpoint Charlie. I was looking across the border at the barbed wire and the armed guards, thinking we were waiting to cross, when all of a sudden my father leaned over to me and said, "Don't ever go to a country on the eastern side of a western border." I asked, "Why not?" He said, "Because you never know if you will ever be able to come back." That scared the living hell out of me, because up until then I thought you could just jump on a plane and go anywhere in the world you wanted to. It never dawned on me that I couldn't, or more importantly, that I shouldn't. I relate this anecdote because I offer it as a comparison to some of life's more important questions to me. I didn't need to know how to make rocket fuel, but I did need to know why God created the devil. I have done many things of which I am not too proud, and if my mother knew half of them, she would probably have a heart attack. I'm pretty sure every single one of us has done something in our lives that we have regretted, something we are not too proud of, and even ashamed by. So where do I begin? At the beginning, I suppose. As I said, I was introduced to God at a very early age. I loved all those bedtime stories, all the action and the adventures laid out in them, all the battles for the soul between right and wrong, good and evil, all the miracles and the mightiness surrounding them, all the heroes and the villains, all the sinners and the saints. To sum it up, all the conflicts between God and the devil. I believed every single word without a doubt or question. I dreamt wild and vivid dreams of warring against Satan to save souls for God. There are far too many non-believers out there who don't know or don't understand how they were deceived in the beginning by the devil himself. Then again, there are also too many who idolize and worship Satan, his children and the wannabes. You are either a child of God or a child of the devil. You are either a chosen one or a condemned one. There is no in between. You will either live eternally in heaven or burn eternally in hell. The choice is yours. There are wannabes and there are fence-sitters. Many a wannabe is a fence-sitter, and many a fence-sitter is a wannabe. There isn't too much difference between them. Unless they change their ways and repent, both will end up in hell. The wannabes want to be like Satanists. They willingly give or sell their souls to the forces of darkness. They envy the power, fame, and glory of the wicked. They envy the riches and beauty of the world. They worship money and material things, and they are well on their way to hell. They, like Lucifer, are full of pride, and we all know what happened to Lucifer. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:8. The fence-sitters are always sitting on the fence. They can't, won't, or don't choose whose side to be on. They remain sitting on the fence all of their lives, until it is too late to choose. And we all know what happens to people who sit on the fence too long. They all fall by the wayside, and their souls end up being laid to waste. Everything on this planet has a purpose, and if you don't decide what to do with it, or if it is not used, it goes to waste. If you don't believe me, then prove it to yourself. Go ahead, pick anything you like. Everything on this planet is perishable. Mountains crumble to the sea, and seas dry up. Nothing on this planet lasts forever. I hate to give you the good news, people, but everything is in danger of being laid to waste, including you and I. Choose anything you like. If you don't make a decision and do something with it, no matter what it is, it will eventually perish and end up being laid to waste. Perishables are even worse. They go to waste even faster. What happens to perishables if you don't do anything with them? They become rotten and spoil. Every perishable becomes waste and is of no value to anyone without some sort of purpose. I cannot say they are worthless to everything, as even a rotten corpse becomes food for the worms and other things. By not deciding what to do with perishables, all perishables are doomed to spoil, rot, and die. In other words, go to waste. The same thing will happen to us if we don't decide whose side we want to be on. If we keep sitting on the fence too long, we too will fall by the wayside. Our bodies will spoil, rot, and die. Our bodies will become food for the worms and other things. And if we don't decide what to do about safeguarding our souls before it's too late, our souls too will be doomed to the same fate as our bodies. But unlike our bodies, our souls will not die. Our souls will live forever and become food for the devil. For the perishable must clothe itself with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality. When the perishable has been clothed with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality, then the saying that is written will come true. Death has been swallowed up in victory. 1 Corinthians 15:53-54. The saying, death has been swallowed up in victory, will only apply to those who decided to choose the side of God. If we want life to be victorious over death, we must decide to choose the side of God. But if we do not make a decision to decide and choose a side, then inevitably our indecision becomes our decision. In other words, our decision would be, we decided to remain sitting on the fence by not deciding to choose a side. Then, if that is the case, there is no doubt about it. Time will march on, and the decision will be made for us. And all those who remain sitting on the fence will fall by the wayside. And these are they by the wayside, where the word is sown. And as soon as they have heard, immediately Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts. Mark 4:15. What happens to those people who don't decide to safeguard their souls is something they wouldn't necessarily choose if they had made a decision. By not deciding to decide, their indecision is their decision. They inevitably decided not to decide. Remember, no decision is still a decision. If you do not make a decision as to whose side you want to be on, God's or the devil's, then soon enough the decision will be made for you. Your time will run out. There will be no more time left for you to make a choice. It'll be too late when the time has come to lay your soul to waste. Jesus said, "He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathers not with me scatters." Matthew 12:30. If you choose not to choose a side and stay on the fence too long, then in the words of Job, this is what will happen to you. Job said, "If I wait, hell is my house, and I have made my bed in darkness." Job 17:13. He is higher than heaven, and what will you do? He is deeper than hell, and how will you know? Job 11:8. If you don't pick a side, God's or the devil's, the only way you'll find out is when it's too late, when you're dead and already condemned to live eternally in hell. However, it's never too late to decide to choose God's side when you're alive. There is no in-between. You either believe in God or you don't. The choice is yours. The believers and the true non-believers have already decided and made their choice. It goes without saying that those who truly choose the side of God believe in God, and those who truly choose the side of the devil believe in the devil. It would be wise to mention that those who truly believe there is a devil also truly believe there is a God. They most assuredly know God is just as real as the devil. Otherwise, how would they have known whose side they wanted to choose? And why do they go out of their way to deny God? And why also do they continuously try to convince others that God does not exist, if God did not exist? It's time to wake up and face the facts, people. If God really didn't exist, they would have no need or inclination to constantly try to convince other people that he doesn't exist. Like I said, even the devil has to tell the truth at times. Put him to the test. If the person is a true Satanist, he is bound to admit God and Jesus Christ are real. I am referring to those who have made a deal with the devil for their souls, and those who have truly chosen to worship Satan. The wannabes and the in-betweens haven't got a clue one way or the other. They don't know for sure, because they are undecided. Everyone who is truly undecided and remains that way is in mortal peril. Their soul's destiny will be the same as if they had made a deal with the devil, because their souls will end up burning in hell, being tormented and tortured by the devil and his minions for all eternity. So many people just give their souls away for nothing, and they don't even know it. I hate to give you the bad news, people. Indecision is still a decision. By not deciding to decide, you decided not to decide. Therefore, you decided to remain undecided. Whether you know it or not, you have just decided, by remaining undecided, to choose the side of the devil. When the time comes, you'll find out. Your indecision was the worst decision you ever made in your lifetime. The wicked shall be turned into hell, all the nations that forget God. Psalms 9:18. As a cloud is consumed and passes away, so he that shall go down to hell shall not come up. Job 7:9. Hell is naked before him, and there is no covering for destruction. Job 26:6. It is the in-betweens, the undecided, the uncertain, and the unsure, who are so easy to deceive. The ignorant, the wannabes, and the fence-sitters are the ones who by their own indecision are effortlessly led astray by the seeds of self, fancy, and doubt. Swayed and bewildered by every breeze of uncertainty and wind of change, they are destined to live their life in endless frustration and confusion. Struggles and strife wait for them around every corner. Like fools, they run to them blindly, always looking and searching for ways to gain instant gratification and self-satisfaction. They will never find what they are looking for. Let them alone. They are blind, and leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into the pit. Matthew 15:14. They don't even know what they want today, much less tomorrow. There is no peace or rest for them in this life or in the hereafter, as they are always found and left wanting. Want is from the Lord in the house of the wicked. Proverbs 3:33. They don't know any better. They didn't make a choice. Therefore they leave themselves no choice but to be left for waste. They have directly chosen indecision as their decision. Whether they know it or not, ignorance is their decision. In the end, it'll be a decision by indecision that they will eternally regret. Confusion and delusion rules their lives. No cornerstone, no anchor or belief in God to ground themselves in is what will eventually destroy them. I had an argument once with another person about needing something to believe in. He said I was a fool for believing in God, and he wanted to know why I did. I told him everybody has a built-in belief system, and everybody needs something to believe in. He strongly disagreed with me and told me he believes in nothing. I said to him, if people didn't have a built-in belief system and had nothing to believe in, then they would have no hope and be hopeless. He still insisted he believed in nothing. I asked him, do you believe in God? He answered no. What about the devil? Again, he answered no. What about good and evil? He answered no. What about right and wrong? He answered no. What about heaven and hell? He said no. What about life after death? Again, he said no. How about aliens, evolution, reincarnation, or anything like that? Again, he said no, no, no. I asked him if he believed in himself, his parents, brothers, sisters, or anyone else. Again, remaining adamant and becoming indignant with me, he answered no. Questioningly, I said to him, so there is nothing you believe in? He answered and said, that's right, that's what I said. I believe in nothing. I said to him, then that's what you believe. You believe in nothing, and nothing is all you have to hope for. He looked at me with disgust, called me a few unflattering names, gave me a submissive smile, and walked away without any more argument or reply. In other words, he had to agree with me that everybody has to have something to believe in. Even he who believes in nothing still believes in something. By his own belief in nothing forces him to believe that what he believes is that he believes in nothing. Believing in nothing means believing in something. Again, nothing is something. If that is what he truly believes, which I kind of doubted at the time, then he has nothing to hope for. Personally, I didn't truly believe the guy believed in nothing. It felt like he only wanted to argue for argument's sake, or perhaps to learn why I believed in God. I don't know. Whether or not he truly believed in nothing, who knows? Only God knows. I don't believe even he himself knew what he believed at the time. I know one thing for sure, though. If he truly did believe in nothing, then that is what he believes, and nothing is all he has to hope for. If that is the case, he is only deceiving himself, because that nothing at his death will become something. I would definitely classify him as worse than a fence-sitter. He chose the side of nothing, which in reality is the side of the devil, because the devil wants us to believe in nothing. The devil wants us to believe there is no God, no devil, no heaven or hell, no right or wrong, no good and no evil. Just do what thou will. Something he'll regret if he keeps that as his belief. In my opinion, he doesn't know what he wants to believe or not believe. More importantly, though, he doesn't know what he should believe or not believe. It is a question within him. Only he can answer. Until then, he is destined for a life of constant frustration and confusion. Without belief in something, there is no hope. That's why they say, faith without deeds is dead. In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there is one God. Good, you do well. Even the demons believe that and shudder. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? James 2:17-20. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. James 2:26. Faith equals belief. Deeds equal actions. Actions equal use. Use equals purpose. Purpose equals worth, and worth engenders hope. Faith/belief without deeds/action equals useless, no purpose, no worth, no hope. It is very easy for anyone to say that they believe in God, but if they don't have the deeds/actions to prove it, then there is no hope for them in God. Those who have truly chosen the side of God are resolute in their decision and reassured within themselves. They have rest within God and themselves. They are confident in this life and their life in the hereafter. Struggles and strife still await them around every corner, but they do not blindly run to them. With God in their hearts and God as their goal, they proceed with caution and insight. It may seem to some at times they might be found wanting, but within themselves they are satisfied. Sure, maybe they want more things out of life, and it would be nice to have them, and they will work hard to get whatever they want, and they will do it honestly. But if they don't get everything they want, inside they are still happy and resolute in God. They remain satisfied with whatever their lot and position in life is. In other words, they are not overly greedy or envious of another person or their possessions. They will not kill, steal, destroy, cheat, or commit any other truly horrendous evil against anyone else to get what they desire. The following is an excerpt from the book By Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, Book 1, Chapter 2, Having an Humble Opinion of Oneself. Many words do not satisfy the soul, but a good life eases the mind, and a clean conscience inspires great trust in God. They will never truly be found wanting for anything other than their reunion to God. However, they will not be left wanting for their reunion with God forever. When the time comes, their faith in God will be rewarded. They rest assured here in this life that their reunion with God will be theirs in the hereafter. The following is an excerpt from the book By Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, Book 1, Chapter 3, The Doctrine of Truth. He to whom the Word of God becomes everything, who traces all things to it, and who sees all things in it, may ease his heart and remain at great peace with God. Those are the ones God has truly chosen. They, in turn, are the ones who have truly chosen the side of God. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 22:14. But we ought to give thanks to God always for you, brethren, beloved of God, for that God has chosen you first fruits unto salvation, and sanctification of the Spirit, and faith of the truth. 2 Thessalonians 2:12. This is how love is made complete among us, so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world we are like Jesus. 1 John 4:17. On Judgment Day, science will be meaningless. Remember what I said at the beginning of this chapter? I said, since the dawn of time, the global elitists have been trying to become as almighty as God, something they will never achieve, but don't try to tell them that. They will keep on striving for perfection and immortality till the end of time. The power of mankind's science doesn't even come close to the power of God. So for all their belief and efforts in the power of science, the global elitists will never even come close to achieving godhood. It didn't work for Lucifer. What makes them think it'll work for them? Vanity of vanities, saith I the preacher, vanity of vanities, and all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 1:2. God said to Lucifer, your pride has brought you down to hell, your carcass has fallen down. Under you shall the moth be strewed, and worms shall be your covering. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Who did rise in the morning? How are you fallen to the earth, that did wound the nations? And you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit in the mountain of the covenant in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. But yet you shall be brought down to hell, into the depth of the pit. Isaiah 14:11-15. Science belief and the elitists would be wise to take note of what happened to Lucifer. End of chapter 12. All honor and glory to God. Coming next, chapter 13. The age-old protocols of the synagogue of Satan. The global elitists' mandate, yet still there is hope. Until then, remember, the devil is stalking you, and God is calling you.